My camera's losing functions slowly. I'll have to get a new one. That might be good. I'll go do that one day this week. I've been meditating on some very disturbing things, as usual. In this case, the sexual abuse of my mom, for sure, by my Uncle Art. I suspect 2 of his sisters. And I'm going over a bit of the life history of Eric, his third-born son. Art is his name, married Lynn, who had been raped when she was 15 and has become basically like a minister for the psychiatric pharmaceutical industry, essentially, and its various sort of pat answers to life's difficult problems. And so she got her doctorate while studying at UBC, and her son, maybe 8 to 12 at the time, I don't know, was staying with her, away from his brother and sister and away from his dad. And this clearly led to a deep ennui in his mind, from which he never fully recovered. And, her husband, from whom she was divorcing, had tried to be a doctor and couldn't. Instead, he'd played with his sisters instead. We know his sisters, but we don't know whether he would have been an equal opportunity with boys. And we know that Eric didn't seem to want anything to do with him, and they separated. And I know from talking to my Uncle Art when I was young that he managed to report that Eric was very angry with him, but he had a talk with him and he'll get over it. Very angry. What did Eric know? What did Eric see? What did Eric feel? Did Eric see something? Feel something? Right? Did Uncle Art touch his daughter when she was young? Did Eric somehow interfere with the territoriality? Because once sex is involved with children, you got to think these kinds of otherwise alpha-seeming males with a beard, he could play Santa Claus in any mall in the world. You got to wonder how territorial they could become, because sex and territory go hand in hand with people who have predatory sexual natures, or men that just, the mom is a frigid lesbian. She outed as a lesbian. So he's probably not getting a lot of feminine energy from her. Then his beautiful daughter comes along, right? And he's already tried it with his own sisters. How much farther apart is that than his daughter, right? Just a few extra hugs here and there, right? In that way that this kind of person would be, energetically. Because he's never cleared this. He's never had therapy. He's never gone through some sort of system of rehabilitation. Creepy lead alpha female there. And that's creepy. Yeah. And very, 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 very creepy. The 2 girls he was with were better. And she was all makeup and everything. You can see there's something very off balance there. Yuck. And you got to think that Uncle Art, she wanted too much contact with me. She's like other women I've met around here. They want more eye contact than they get from me. And they don't know why I'm not giving it, because men give it to them all the time. Why aren't you giving it to me? And they're like animals. Women are like dogs on that level. They're trained by men to expect certain kinds and levels of attention. You can see that. I mean, she's 18, 19 years old? Yeah, right? She's had sex a few times. Maybe given a few blowjobs. She knows what men want. Why aren't you looking at me? Right? And that sort of demon in women abhors modesty. While they might support protecting the modesty of women, there is no consideration for the modesty of men. So my Uncle Art, I don't know if he touched his son. I don't know if he became territorial with him. I know that he's very fond of his oldest son. Very proud of him, right? Ooh, he beams with pride. You can look at on Facebook, and you could look at the sun. And when the son takes a picture, it's like he's standing in the sun. He literally just beams with his pride in himself, right? He has gotten all the genetic cojones, right? You can see that. Whereas the youngest son, just like he's never fit in. He's like me. He's block-jawed. He's never fit in. You know, his big day last year was moving out from a skeezy part of town to a little less skeezy part of town where he could do his own laundry in his house, and how he ever lived without a laundry machine, which is true. You discover that, right? But his pictures are mostly just him of himself sitting in his car, you know, in various maybe motorcycle company jackets and so on. And I get a sense of deep sadness about him. Just something happened there. And I think he lost his childhood. And you know, to talk about the losing of childhood, the losing of innocence, it's not something I think really happens to people. I think most people are walking around who have lost their innocence, which is most people, are like big children. That adults are addled children. They're children who've had their essence addled, right? And it gets addled, gets shaken around it. Everybody goes through it. I'm surprised Joseph Campbell didn't talk about it in primitive mythology and rites of passage, because every addled essence goes through this shaking up where all your relationships have to completely be redefined with your parents and everyone else around you. That you can no longer relate to the world, as the Bible says, as a child. Now it's like, whoa, what's all this? What do I have to do now? And for someone like me, I did nothing. I did as little as possible. I did not jump at the bit. Right, oops.
Hey man.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you.
Yeah, you as well.
You look so familiar, but
No,
I can't place. Oh, is it Trevor?
Yeah.
God, yeah. I thought about you the other day. Yeah.
Yeah,
How's
I
it going?
did too. When I saw the chair, every time I go up there, I see that chair, I think of you.
I've seen a blue heron today out under their bridge near the point there, the cut or where the water cuts.
Oh
around.
yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of wildlife going to be making its way up here.
Oh, good.
I saw a bald eagle the other day with a fair-sized fish fly overhead. It was quite impressive.
So I imagine you're going for a day of your
Just
your
an
fishing.
hour or two.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
The salmon showed up a couple weeks ago, so there's some nice big trout in there with them. And,
Oh, it's so nice to talk to someone who's actually catching fish.
Yeah, a lot of guys will be down there trying to snag the big fish that can compete. Like the salmon when they're trying to spawn.
But you can get some trout or whatever and take it home and stuff?
No, you can't.
Oh, darn. Okay.
But they're not trying to reproduce right now,
Okay.
so I'm not harassing them in quite such a way as...
You know a lot about fish. Another time I would, definitely, we could talk more because I have everything to learn. Yeah, but...
Oh, I've got a lifetime to learn.
Yeah, I know. So you're basically a fish. I get it. You've been fishing for a while. Yeah, it's nice. I like hearing people have knowledge about stuff, and I try to pick up what I can. And I'm always happy every year if someone says to me, "Hey, are there fish from the river?" I think so. I've seen some fishermen.
There are always fish in the river.
There's all. Okay, there you go.
Whether or not they're making themselves available
Okay,
to your
thank you.
eyes.
See, now I've learned something that I can really stick in my heart. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope maybe I'll run into you later because I know I'll be walking down there a bit. Or
Okay, yeah, I was going to go up and park my bike in the forest by the picnic table.
Oh, yeah.
Walk up to the bend and then make my way back down.
Yeah. I like to go up to that sort of that stream near the power lines there, and then I usually turn around. Seen some bears down there, hawks and stuff. And I'll just add this: a gentleman yesterday said he thought there was an elk back there.
Oh, probably for sure, yeah.
I never heard of that before. So
Yeah, there are birds. The power lines. If you walk up the power lines, that goes up pretty close to my place. And,
wow.
The road off Evergreen is called the Trail Road.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
And we'll see sometimes like there'll be a herd of 20 or 30 elk.
Wow.
Farmers field. Not often, maybe once a year.
Yeah.
But you have to be looking for them. You have to go out often, but you're the kind of guy that I'm sure would come across them often.
I actually dreamed about them last night, so I was just like, I would love to see some elk, but I'm not gonna I never like to feel like I'm sort of stalking animals, but I love walking here. I like walking. I mean, they're an animal to be a bit careful of, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're dangerous. Yeah.
Well, I really like talking to you, Trevor.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
I want to say Scott.
Oh, Landon. Sorry.
Landon.
Scott's a good choice. Yeah. No, it's been a long time. I don't mind if people don't. I really enjoyed meeting you because I thought I like what you were up to. Yeah.
That was nice to come across you that day.
Yeah. So just taking on the change of seasons here, and
I love this. The
Yeah.
orange when these leaves start to fall.
it's like another spring to me.
Yeah.
Except for those. Actually, I was thinking the other day that the temperature range, not exactly, could be compared between September, October, and probably March, April, in some sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't think about that very much. But
Yeah, it's getting chilly and humid.
Yeah. Oh, that too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I trust your family as well, and for
Yeah,
now?
they're doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's holding on.
Good.
Know,
Yeah.
during this
Yeah, us too.
kind of, pretty exhausting time to be alive.
Yeah. That's a good word. I feel that
Yeah.
a tremendous amount. So
Yeah.
I come out here every day these days and walk it off.
Same.
Keep grounded. It's
I
like-
usually, sorry?
no, it's good. Yeah.
I was gonna say I used to come out in the evenings, but I wanted to experience the rain
Oh yeah.
and change it up a bit.
Yeah, come out in the evenings. That's another whole other.
Yeah, I've often just been out here 2 days, and by the time I get back to the road, it's dark.
Yeah, yeah.
The lighting,
Oh, and I think too, like it'll be warmer every weekend too. Yeah, I know. Then the light becomes very useful. I rode for many years. I eventually got one.
Yeah.
Because you get caught out in the dark or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you live in an extraordinary area.
Yeah, it's,
It's making me feel inspired to maybe walk a little ways that way today, seeing how much energy I have. And,
yeah, I like going to the hatchery.
yeah.
Like I say, if I take the power line trail, it's a lot easier to get out further upriver for me, but
Oh, yeah.
it's a little harder to bike that way.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a couple, iron gates you have to feed your bike through.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, cool. You must have, you've covered quite a range of territory around here. I respect that. I respect that a lot, Trevor. One reason I like meeting you is because I know you're someone that knows a lot about the area, and you're a really nice guy, so it's always good to see you. Yeah, really awesome, man.
Yeah,
Have a wonderful day.
You as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I keep riding slowly, but I have a limited time here, and I need
course.
to clear my head a little bit.
Absolutely, I totally understand. I'm like
Thank
just like
you.
you. Yeah, take care.
Take care.
Yeah. This dude, oh good. That's one of the nicest people I've met around here. I thought I was placing him. It's like, oh, that's Trevor. And because there's a native guy down at the other river that looks a lot like him. And he goes and fishes and does stuff. And this guy, he's more white. But you can see he's roamed around here and lived around here for most of his life. So it's like, holy cow, man. It's like he goes where the fish are, which is not down here. It's way up there, right? So he knows where they are, and he's saying like they're always around. There's always fish. So it's like, oh, okay. So I didn't know that. You can smell her age almost. She's got her 50s going on, and the other one has her 70s going on. They got it all going on. They got their houses ship-shape. You know that. I mean, you can smell it on. They got their bathrooms and their houses, their living rooms, toilets, and everything's paid for and zippity-doo. Probably got grandchildren already. Since, they kind of know how to do things. They all get their jobs and stuff, but I take little shots at working just in as much as I feel moved to appreciate the fact that any grouping, however industrial, so in other words, industry is great, but don't protect it from inspection if it's just another group that can be analyzed in cynical ways. If there is as much sexual abuse in the world as I suspect, just in my own family, right? And what that does, the grating steel iron nerve of silence and twisted force. And that force gets twisted. Just think of like a bridge that's supposed to stand for a beautiful thing, and it gets twisted by a certain force. And like a river, other parts have to be twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted. And pretty soon, this person is actually sharing this twisted nature with you. And they're your mother and your father, and you're living in this twisted reality. And now, while the goal of life is to survive and get along and, become an adult and everything, you're also, depending on your personality or your aptitudes and your nature, in a sense, it's in anyone and everyone's nature to question this twisting of reality. And what I think is that child conditioning, not really child training, child conditioning, it helps children to incorporate this twisted reality into themselves so that it doesn't seem so twisted anymore. And that's the process of growing up. So then people, I don't like to find myself, like, our home now is kind of like shaping up nicely. But it's not out of danger from one thing or the other. It's scary for me. If I don't find a place to live soon enough, things could really get hairy. My mom is in semi-communication. It's getting better. I think today will be a good turning point of just like, enough of this. But it's lingered. And it's lingered for me. Something that for her maybe was a bad day has lingered for me for a month. And that's what happens, with people who allow things to happen around them, cultivate unseemly relationships with people. It has cost my family and myself so much time and energy because of how my mom makes choices. It's cost our home, it's cost me personally, it's cost my health, it's cost my father, it's cost my siblings, it's cost our entire family. And it all goes back to my uncle Art raping her when she's 5. And God knows what he did to his own children. But his son, since he was young, Robbie, beams with affection. Beams, This guy is a wall. He's a rock, Nothing gets through him, right? He's Teflon. And he was like that when we were young. He's a real Teflon. He's gotten that Teflon nature from his father. Very strong Teflon energy, I don't know if he's kept his marriage together or what goes on there, but you looking at the firstborn son of a sexual predator of this kind, and let's say it's the disease, because it's like, I guess I'm talking about my own. Let's say it's a disease. Let's say it's an industrial disease. Say it's a perversion. Right? And we have to maybe investigate if it's possible, as unacceptable and horrible as it is, to investigate it as something which itself has causes in the habitat. That this man, while he doesn't deserve our respect necessarily, or trust in any way, is a child of a mother. While he may not be a man who even feels any guilt, any anxiety, any ennui about what he's done to my mother or his sisters, or maybe his own family and other people throughout his life. Maybe his little bad act was all of his problems in his head, and they all went away. We know that's not really true, but it does make, sort of, for predators like this, it probably makes certain things go away for them, like an urge. It makes the urge go away that's chasing them. They've got this urge, they've inherited this urge to have sex with your own sister. And think of how wicked and strange and disgusting that is. How completely unnatural, right? And that this person can grow up and become a beloved biology teacher for maybe 30 years of his life, live out in a remote area, build a house out of stone, beautiful, earn, marry a woman who eventually becomes a psychiatrist, turns out to be a lesbian who was raped when she was 15 by a police officer, and never filed charges. And it makes you wonder how that person, unfortunately, or either of those people, can understand the difference between right and wrong. Do they know that it's wrong? Would they say that was wrong? You got a person who's raped his sisters to a person who's been raped when she was 15, coming together and having 3 children. Like, you don't have to be a clinical psychologist to know that that's pretty extraordinary. What do you think they found in each other? What safety, right? If she married this man who maybe likes children, or boys and girls, right? Who didn't show that much interest in her, and maybe that made her feel safe. You know? Maybe she felt safer around him because he wasn't like the man who raped her. Or was he somehow exactly like the man who raped her? It's hard to tell, isn't it? Because, people turn off their emotions and people can lose or have different kinds of sterility for different reasons, right? I've had women accuse me who wanted to rape me and I wouldn't let them of somehow liking children because I didn't want to have sex with them. I've had women accuse me of being a homosexual because I don't want to have sex with them. Or I tell them I've never been married, right? Women have very strong opinions of men who don't have sex or don't have a lot of sex or don't want to have sex with them. That is not really a huge priority in getting to know them. Because that kind of man wants to have and needs to have the most solid kind of relationship with a particularly intelligent female. And that's all they're going to want. That's all they want. I'll live my whole life without it if I have to. I'll walk miles and miles and miles. But maybe one day, like Trevor there, she'll walk up to me. That's all I know. I don't go dating. I don't go to bars. I just figure do what you like doing. That's the most important thing. Don't let anyone take you out of your strength. Unless, of course, you don't like doing something and you want to do something else. But I think the good thing about meeting, if I met a woman, is that I should have something that's mine that I do every day. It keeps me busy. I might have to be willing to switch gears one day and not talk about such negative things. But the thing is that what I've told people on this video today and other days is that, yesterday for sure, is that the more you spend time out here doing the kind of things that I do, whatever that is, I could put a name to it, but it's not necessary that I do, because it's like, how do you put a name to just doing what a human does every day? And, it's just what a human does. That's all I can claim, right, for myself. That's all I need to. And I use terms like witch or warlock and stuff like that because, well, it describes a kind of way I have relating with nature. And in particular, as it bears upon how I think about what needs protecting and what real growth is about for me and what I think it is for other people. And more than just, oh yeah, nature's good. Well, spend some time out in nature and see if it can be good to you. Like there's a swastika, and there is a little happy face down there, and there's a little swastika, right? And so, do you know that the swastika has to do with nature? It has to do with the moving of the Big Dipper through the sky throughout the seasons of the year. That's all it is. It's celestial knowledge turned into the most evil symbol in human history. Think about that for a moment, and then you'll see what it's like to be a witch, where you take nothing for granted, right? We're not necessarily offered up the most wonderful languages, the most wonderful knowledge. You look at the painting, the Mona Lisa, right? Mona Lisa means money. Isa is a rune. It means I. It's the letter I. Okay? It's money. Money. The Mona Lisa means money. And so what is the real trickery in the Mona Lisa? That he's a man or a woman? Or that he's a royal actor, and they all are, who can be men or women whenever they want to. And that's part of the trickery of the world, of the stage of the world. What is she or he really smiling about, or not smiling about? What is looking through the subtle shades between what is one thing and what is another? And that is the monetary system. Right? How do you find a natural sense of right and wrong? Well, I've met some nice people. That sort of moves the energy nicely. Because I know Jackie Fock lady is popping in my head a lot. And it's like Leave me alone. Leave my mother alone. Take your shit and leave. I don't want anything from you. I don't want your hatred. I don't want your anything. You understand? I don't need anything from you. Ever. Anything. You understand? Right? You offer nothing to me. You can offer nothing to me. You offer nothing to my mother. You're not her friend. You're nothing. Right? You turn your back on your friends, you turn your back on your children in a second when it's worth your while. Why would anyone trust you? That's stupid. I'm not a stupid man. Of course I don't trust you. Fucking shit. Of course I have an interest in my mom's well-being. You don't. You know? Okay. Well, decisions. Do I walk up the hill and risk the bears and the elk? I am nice and warm. So this goes to a hatchery or something? I'm like, oh. Trying to think where to go. Well, I'll go down here for a bit, because I like going down here. And then we'll think about things. I think that sun will come out again, maybe. I think I'll go up this one hill, and hopefully there's no bears around. I enjoyed sitting there the other day. You know, this lady said to my mom, she's a dog groomer, and she said she spent a week in the woods, and it was the best thing she ever did. Camping, I guess. A week in the woods. And I thought, I would never spend a week in the woods out here. It would freak me out. I walk this territory. I don't live in it. I just think I think it's just a very different thing. You know, I come, I go. I come, I go. And, I don't think I'd want to do that by myself, quite frankly, because I spend so much time alone. I spend so much time alone every day of my life. I like to go out, get a good sweat on, come home. You know, I know just about how wet my feet are going to get when I walk through that forest on a wet day, and I'm okay with that. And if the sun comes out, I'll take my socks off for a bit. Ooh, works things out of my body, and I think. So to finish the thought, I started probably 15 minutes ago. You walk out here, you find everything to the nth degree that bothers you. And it's like, you can be sure there are people and things in the world that I've bothered. Things when people don't make the right distinctions between right and wrong, and don't want to, and can't be prevailed upon to do so. In any industries that come to bear upon my safety or that of others, well, then I'm there. You know, I show up. You know, I'm all in. You know, you don't know right from wrong? Okay, well, let me show you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you explicitly as I can. Hey? Because I don't think you're listening. And I've met people of different kinds who have selective listening. Hey? I like your face. Hey? Diaper daddy. Yeah, I guess you could say I've met a few evil people in my day. There was a light behind me. That's fine. Ooh, I see bright lights now and then. Sometimes it's just like, it's a glow from the distance. Essentially, like the sky is glowing in the distance and my eyes sort of pick up a rush of light and it forms a sort of semi-orb at a particular part of my focal length. Sometimes there's an explanation, but it's just interesting. The eyes do have light effects in them. Like when I say I see colors or I see a light or a star up in the sky. I remember years ago, sometimes, you know, you just sort of know the moon's right behind you, and I'd look right up at the moon. When I spent more time out at night, just look up at the moon, like, how did I know exactly where the moon was? I remember the irony is that I dropped out of astronomy and university entirely. And one of the assignments I couldn't do was, you know, try to show how to figure out where the moon's going to be at a certain time. And it's like, I couldn't do it for the life of me. I'm like, I didn't want to. And I didn't know how. And, you know, like design an experiment and all this kind of stuff. Something like how far away is the moon? I don't know. It was really hard. Like, I didn't know how to adjust to the Earth's rotation. Yeah. And I've never in my life come to the first assignment of a science class where someone asks you to design a lab and doesn't give you any knowledge on how to do it. And basically, that was one of the big reasons I quit school. It was Astronomy 201, basically a first-year astronomy class, and assumedly other people in the class knew what to do. I didn't. And I'm like, I had never before in my life. I went back and saw this guy who runs the astronomy lab. It's the same guy. And I just thought, what is it about you? I remember just thinking, 20 years later when I went back there and looked around the university, I thought, what is it about you? And you can probably still see him in there today. And I was like, why would you ever give someone an assignment they couldn't complete? And what I slowly figured out was that it's part of the curriculum in a number of the classes. It's something they do on purpose. If I had gone to his office and said, hey, what gives? And I got an F on the first assignment, he would say, I gave that assignment to you for a reason. Why is that? Oh, and it's an initiation. Essentially, they wouldn't tell you that. It's a form of hazing of the students by the instructors to get you to work with other people and find out, get someone's number or know someone. That's why it was forced socialization. And I thought, why do you have to force people to talk like that? Why didn't you say, hey, for this assignment, I'd like people to get together in groups and try to work this out? They skipped that step entirely. This was the big leagues of social training, right? And so I started to figure out that universities weren't just about learning subjects, they're about being trained socially. Just like a convent or a seminary, right? Anything that's aberrant, anything anomalous, stays in our minds, right? Anything. If you were a trained ninja, you could scarcely expect anything less, right? But the human mind is very observant. It observes anything that's weird or wrong or anomalous. Why wouldn't it? It just so happened I was on my way out of school anyway. I didn't like it. I didn't like learning relativity or about matrix algebra or whatever. Calculus was just lost to me. I barely understood it anymore. Again, in all the classes, they started doing this flying leap into a complete other area, and I had no idea. There was no explanation. I could barely catch up in the textbooks to how much material they were covering in a single class. It was like, whoa. And the instructors would sort of speed up and they would stop in a certain area and speed up again. It was like a totally different level of teaching. It's like, and I interviewed for jobs while I was there too, in a university job placement program. And it was the same thing. I sat in these interviews and they put you over your head and they sort of abused you to see if you would take it, see if you would take the abuse. And these guys were basically like trained psychopaths. And I sat in that room and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. They wanted to see if you would take a certain amount of abuse, a certain amount of hazing to become one of them, right? Because that way they would attract you into their business. It's the same thing with sociopaths, narcissists, things like that. If you humiliate, hurt, or threaten, or make someone feel defensive, right, and they get through it to your satisfaction, you can make them feel like they're accepted provisionally, and they will work harder to get your approval, right? They'll know they may constantly have to stretch or be subjected to certain hardships, and that they should look for your approval. It's a form of training. It's Pavlovian, right? It's obvious. And I was too smart for it. Or not smart enough, I don't know. Because the guys I was going to school with who came from middle-class homes were like, rock on, I'm going to get a job at Shell and all this stuff. And that's basically how they should feel. And it was healthy for them and to do that. Why wouldn't they? Wow. I'm not going to bother the elk. I just think it's cool that they're there. If I walk down there, I'd have to walk home that way. I guess I could. And you walk down the highway, and then you walk down the highway, and then you walk down the highway. It's like a lot of walking. But I am used to walking. I am used to walking on the pavement now. And it would be something different. So that's satisfy myself. Let's do it once. What do you say? Okay, I'm convinced, motherfucker. And I think, yeah, anyway. Let's try it. I'm bored. I had a dream about the elk last night, and I can walk through here. If I see the elk, I can always turn back. You know, I'll just say hello. Plus, I haven't crapped today. And I swear that burger I had yesterday, I will crap, by the way, didn't totally agree with me. And I know my system's working on it. And stresses don't help, you know. But there's lots of places to crap up here, so that's good. That's always good, eh? So, we saw the bear up here. Yesterday, or no, about 3 or 4 days ago now. I don't think I'll see anything, but it's nice to know they're around. See, I mean, that's why you stand here and you just like, bear, elk, cougar. I would like to pass through here. Yes, okay. I don't do this very often. You know, I felt better the other day, and then I felt worse again. It's like a little drained. I don't like it. It's like, I don't know if I picked something up from somebody or... I hung out with these 2 homeless people for like an hour one night. Hung out is stretching the word. Basically got caught up by them. So I knew one of them, and the other showed up and just started entering into some kind of babble with him that he seemed to understand. They were talking at a completely subversive level, back and forth, talking at each other, really not listening to what each other was saying. It's creepy. I hate creepy human experiences. They really sour you on life. It's right here. It's right here. And the bear came sniffing through the grass, sniffing me, and then stood up over here. Weird, I feel kind of weak. I felt weakened lately. It's not a good feeling. Yeah. It's not a good sense of weakness. It's like getting thinned out. I hate it. You know, you come out here, you want to feel good. You know, it's just like... But I also know that I go through certain things all the time. And I got a bit of a chill yesterday, sitting out waiting for my hamburger. So it's like, don't stop when you're walking home. You know, it's just like, again, a series of conditions, almost like an evil influence that just put me in a delicate position. I was just like, I don't want to be in a delicate position. And when I come home, and then it was nice. Yesterday I was walking home, and this sociopath who lives in his car, still an interesting person, but not someone I could ever rely upon energetically at all. They really should be by themselves in their car. I sort of envy them sometimes. I think I should get a car. But anyway, I'm doing okay. Here we go. One more major hill. I got a crap coming soon. We'll call that one Jerry. This strange that any evil directed at you will find you out here. And you really know, oh, wow. And you have to confront it and let it speak to you. If there's something you need to learn from it, and tell it to go on its way. Whether it takes you a year or 2 years. I finally figured out why this manager's face was in my aura all the time. I finally figured it out. It's always the last thing you think, right? One of the things I think, it's like a murder mystery. He was into one of these girls. He's a manager, right? Probably never had sex, never been married, right? His job is his life. He works around a lot of young girls. He works really hard. I find that sexual predators, but not only sexual predators, love to keep busy. They're always busy. They have to keep busy. Anyway, I know one particular young girl who worked there that I think he was particularly fond of, who was fond of me. And I think it was such a big deal to him to come to work and to have this woman who probably smelled real nice and said nice hello, youthful, beautiful energy, the best worker you could ever have. I knew she was good, right? Someone who probably could manage her own place someday. And she's a beautiful 22, 23 years old. Gorgeous. You're 45. You're bald. You don't have any love. You go home. It's you and TV and a TV dinner. Right? I get it. You know, I'm not so genetically far removed from this man. But I think he started getting territorial with me. It answers a lot of questions. And the thing is that I got this girl to quit. You know, not necessarily, I mean, he got her to quit, really. But, and then she was gone. But I think I also let him and the company know that they would be investigated. Not in so many words. That one could take an interest in finding out a little bit more about what's been going on. And that guy's, I think the message really got across because that guy's face has been in my ethereal field for almost 2 years. I mean, I scared the fuck out of him. I just didn't know exactly why. And then I finally figured it out. You know, he was very fond of this young woman. And I was taking her attention away from him because she was a little bit in love with me. So you see what happens when a young girl in a female estrogen-enriched environment falls in love with a middle-aged man. When a middle-aged man who is lonely himself is a manager there, working tirelessly, has no other part of his life, she becomes the other part of his life, right? A living specimen of goodness and femininity, someone he can really talk to about the incoming order, you know, maybe one day she can be his protege, and they can get married and go to Venice, you know, and read books about the health food industry. I mean, it's just, who knows how far he'd taken it. Because I know sometimes he was stalking me subconsciously, right? And then people like this, I call them schizophrenic, but I'll explain why. It's because, you know, certain forces do come over them. You know, and I hadn't really seen it as much in that way under those circumstances, like say from a strange person managing a store, as I did with him. The guy was stalking me. If he happened to be around, he was stalking me. And there's sometimes I would come to that store days in a row and I'd look around, he'd always be behind me doing something. And I was like, I couldn't figure it out. And then the more I sort of acknowledged the demon, I acknowledged the energy, and it stopped. It went away. And then it came back again with a vengeance, because there were other sexually predatory and schizophrenic females in the environment who were also starting to get a wee bit pesky about me. And you can imagine why that was. So again, there was another female involved, or this, that, or the other. So these people, these are circumstances of abnormal psychology where people get wound up and they can't unwind. Imagine that. And they will wind you up. They call that gaslighting, right? They'll wind you up. It's inevitable, really. People look at gaslighting and bullying like people are trying to do something, but a lot of times it's inevitable. It's just how they are. Certain energies, just like an animal in the wild, maybe they don't like weakness. Maybe when there's sex involved and you have sexual predators, they're more likely to become territorial, right? My Uncle Art, when he talks to my mom, talks in a very pathetic, very paternalistic way that I find insulting. But I've already told him what he needs to hear from me. Don't worry about that. And I kept my manners about me. And he raped my mom when she was 5. Yeah. You just kind of have to process that. It's like, these things don't help me find a woman. It's like, hi, how you doing? It's like, yeah. Then as I think about the fact my mom was raped, I try to factor that into my entire relationship with my mom, because I wrote a novel about a woman who was raped when I was 19 years old. Not that a woman was raped when I was 19, but I wrote a book when I was 19. And 18, and, you know. I had books in me. Oh, look, there's a stone. Did someone drop that stone there? And who did it? Look at that. Someone's put a stone there. I'll have to move that after I take a crap. Okay, you know what the highlight of the day is, though? This is the gift of the season, the true gift. Along with these Oregon grapes down here, which look still edible. Thank you. Is I'm going to come over here, find a dry spot in this woods. Yeah. There's a heart with eyes in it. You know, nature's really been harding me and saying, man, come on, lose all these fears, you're okay. Yeah. And, well, don't always know that I am. But I'm a lot more okay than heaven. I should celebrate that, because I don't know if there's really a dry place around here. Let's go this way. You know, it's funny, all these woods and all these branches you think could be more dry, but it can be very hard. Okay, we'll try this. This looks not bad. Bears could come. Hopefully not while I'm taking a crap. This is amazing though, magical. And there are some good things. You know, like, most of the evil is past. So, it's in the past. We're okay. All done. Ouch. I sometimes, you know, I cast a curse or wished ruin upon my uncle Art. But the pentagram takes that, and the earth and whatever do whatever is best. And so part of any curse is accepting the earth's dominion in that case, because how can you know everything? Right? How can you know everything? Let he who knows everything cast the first stone, you know? So I don't know everything. I really don't. Trust me. Most violence, I'm going to say, is committed by people who don't know what they're doing. And maybe you think you're doing something right, but you're not. Okay? And it's always a good time to check your judgment in all things, because also people like myself who have to use their judgment a lot. It's not fun. I don't trust my own judgment completely, because even if I can trust my judgment, I can't trust the people I'm using it on. There's a reason why I'm using my judgment. It's on someone who is despicable, probably, right? And has a despicable state of being in the world. Okay. Ouch. Oh, this is somewhat doable. There's actually a little crook in this tree. I'm going to turn this camera around and we'll try it.